Welcome to the Goddesses of Social Work podcast, hosted by Renita Ray Davis, licensed clinical social worker, board-approved social work clinical supervisor, and facilitator of the Goddesses of Social Work supervision community. Join us as we travel through the social work journeys told by the Goddesses of Social Work community members, past and present, as they make their way toward clinical licensure.
Welcome to the Goddesses of Social Work podcast. I'm your host, Renita Ray Davis, and I'm here today with Regina L. Lacking, LMSW. Regina L. Lacking is the CEO of Doing Life Well Coaching and Consulting and a licensed master social worker, earning her undergraduate degree from Alcorn State and her MSW from Jackson State University, and known as the plant-based boss. She empowers individuals and couples to maintain long-term weight loss through her innovative coaching programs, which blend mindset shifts, plant-based nutrition, and sustainable habits. Regina is also the founder of the No Flinch Faith Women's Empowerment Conference and Movement, inspiring women to thrive with resilience and purpose. With over 20 years of speaking experience, she's a dynamic advocate for holistic wellness and intentional living. Welcome to the show, Regina.
Oh my goodness, it is such a pleasure. I am
Yes.
super excited. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to share this space this evening. I've been looking forward to it, and I'm just excited. Okay,
We're
I'm just
excited
excited.
too.
I'm
We're
gonna have to get my pom
excited
pom
too.
out my hand, my imaginary pom pom, and settle it down. But very excited, and thank you so much.
Do
Thank
not
you.
settle it down. Come with the high energy. I'm a
Listen.
cheerleader. Yes, I am a cheerleader. So let's cheer it on. Let's cheer it on. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Regina, reading your bio. I love reading your bio one because I love holistic wellness and social
Mhm.
work. And one of my favorite words is intentional. And
Yes.
so, advocating for holistic wellness and intentional living is so important to me. And, reading your bio, your work seems to deal with transformation, love, and healing. How did you get into plant-based nutrition? And what is your favorite plant-based meal and why?
Ooh, love that question. I love telling my story about that. I've been on this journey since 1998, actually. I stopped eating beef and pork in 1998, just learning, about what beef and pork, how long it takes beef 2 to 3 days to digest in your system. And so I started that journey. But my pivotal point was in 2010 when I was had a medical alert, uh, elevated high cholesterol, borderline high cholesterol, and so I was like, somebody got to do something different. All this working out you doing, something is still not on track, and so I started to really then pay attention to my nutrition. And in 2018, while on vacation, I watched the documentary "What the Health." And that documentary was a part of was a catalyst to eliminating chicken and turkey. And so I was only down to seafood at that point. Until 2021. 2021 is when I went plant-based vegan. And so my journey has been around preventative. And when I think about my family, the predispositions that are just present, very present, high blood pressure, obesity, high cholesterol, and my entire life I've been fighting against that. And so now it's not just what I recognize is not just about me. It's about how can I serve others? How can I raise consciousness, an everyday person? How can I begin to raise consciousness? Now that I'm well, my responsibility now is to help other people have optimal health and be well as well. And so I've been on the journey a long time, but the whole food plant based has been in the last 5 years, and I wouldn't take nothing for it. I feel better, clarity, none of the mental fog, just absolutely it's just been a whole health turnaround for me. I've seen and I've experienced all these amazing results with it. And so, I know we get into a lot more, but that's been my journey and how I got here in terms of a plant-based is really to be preventative. And so at this point, it's beyond me. It's not about me. It's about serving now. My favorite, I've tried a lot of different dishes, but my favorite simple dish because I like simplicity. You give me some tofu, we're gonna dice it up, we're gonna stick it in the air fryer. I like cubed sweet potatoes. Now, before I went whole food plant based, I didn't even like sweet potatoes at all. Like just eating a baked sweet potato with anything. I didn't like baked sweet potatoes. But I have found that cubed sweet potatoes have a whole different texture, to me, a whole different taste. And so my favorite dish is tofu, cubed sweet potatoes, broccoli, and quinoa. Very simple.
And are you putting these in the air fryer?
What?
Are you putting these in the air fryer?
Yes, I put the tofu in the air fryer as well as the sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes.
You're gonna have to
Yes.
share your recipe with us. I'm so excited.
Of,
Yeah.
of course. Like I like simplicity. I'm not the one that's out here making all these, so I like simplicity. I can eat and for me, a lot of people can't, but I can eat the same meal for an entire week because I just enjoy it. I just
Mhm.
enjoy it. So, but yeah, I'm experimenting more now, but I absolutely enjoy those simple meals that I know what it is. I go in the grocery store, I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm in and out in absolutely no time. So, yes.
You know what, Regina? I read this book this in 2024, Fit for Life,
Hmm.
and one of the authors said that the human race is the only race that has to take medication after they eat something. And so he was advocating plant-based and fruit-based diet because, like you said, the meat sits in your tummy, becoming toxic for 2, 3 days before it's digested.
Yes, and even what I recently was talking with my audience about on my last live, I was just sharing. So now you think about it. People ask me, where do you get your protein from as a vegan? Like, how do you get protein? And so I share with them my meal for breakfast and my meal for lunch and my meal for dinner. So on average, just an average female not working out or anything, we eat 46 grams of protein per day. I get 36 grams in my overnight oats alone. So I'm already over half the way there. And so I posed a question to my audience and I'm like, so if you or someone you love goes to the doctor and you're having an evaluation, they provide you with a medical report and they say, hey, you are borderline this or you're at this point, and what is the very next thing that they're going to say to you? They're going to say, lifestyle changes. Can you increase what? Your fresh fruits and vegetables. And I need you to move a little bit. And so that's how I try to lead that conversation because the reality of it is even the doctor try to give us a chance to get it right before, medication. And so by the time we get the medication, we have moderated the condition to where it's no longer manageable without medication. And so I tell people that plants heal. You know, plants heal. And so if we can really get that, understand that plants heal, oh man, when I tell you we can reverse conditions, I like to tell my artists we can put that thing in remission. We can put your condition in remission, but you got to come into submission. You got to submit to these plants, these whole food plants. So I firmly believe that if it's preventable, then it's reversible. So if we can if it's designed to be, if the lifestyle condition that we're often faced with, and I call it the big four: obesity, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, and diabetes, the big four. All of those are lifestyle illnesses, and they are by way of how we're living. So we change our lifestyle, we change our outcomes.
This is such an amazing talk already. And I gotta say, I know that God sent you to me. I've been walking, I do 5Ks every day, like,
Mhm.
through just how many miles I walk a day. But it's not just the exercising, it's also what you're eating. And I absolutely believe that plants heal. Obviously, I'm a plant mama.
Yes,
But
yes,
but I
yes, yes.
absolutely believe plants heal. And so the fact that this is the conversation we're having today feels very, very timely. I'm going
Yeah.
to pivot just a little because I know we're going to come back to this. But
Okay.
before we get to your social work journey, I love talking to people who went to HBCUs. That was not my journey, and so I kind of try to live vicariously through you guys. And what was your experience going to an HBCU, specifically getting your MSW at a HBCU?
Yeah. So I would be remiss and I will be banned from my own existence if I did not recognize the Alcorn State University first. I got my master's from Jackson State. And so I got my bachelor's, my undergraduate from Alcorn State University. And I have to say this because I want to share it to bless somebody in case this is not a question later on down the road, to really give somebody some hope and inspiration. Renita, your girl went to Alcorn State University on an academic scholarship. I was top 10, number 10. But this is the caveat that I want people to lean in and understand that a test does not dictate your effort. I went there. This is first time public knowledge with a 15 on the ACT. And so for me, I was trying to prove a point to people. And so I went to Alcorn. This question came up to me as people know that I went to Jackson State and Alcorn, but I'm going with your foundation, right? And so I tell people I went where I was wanted. I went where I was wanted. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, all kind of schools in that area. Where did I get a scholarship from? Alcorn State University. I chose Jackson State later, loved my HBCU, but there is no way I live my life and be where I am without a foundation. You cannot build a house without a solid foundation. And Alcorn State University, the community there. I saw my first live cow on the campus because it's an agriculture school. Still best friends with the first person I met on day one. And so when you talk about a community, a family, like real relationship professors who had you at their homes having conversations about how do you navigate. And so that was very that's what I needed in my life, you know. And so, pivot to my master's in social work, how I even got there because I also have a master's in guidance and counseling. And I realized I didn't want to be a sit down therapist and do that. I found it out. I found it out. And to the master route was a pivotal situation with a client in mental health. And so I discovered then there was so much more to social work than child welfare, the stereotype or image that you're taking people's children. That's really all I knew. I didn't know about medical social work. I didn't know about being a clinician. I didn't know about consulting work. None of that. All you knew was CPS, DHS. And so to be able to learn about it and chose, what, where am I going? Plenty of schools, got to hit my HBCU. And so never regretted, absolutely love Jackson State. So I got my master's in social work from Jackson State. Wonderful experience. And so that's my route. That's my 18360, how I want to turn that thing around, but I had to have a foundation. But there is no experience. I tell anybody, there is no experience like having that authentic, you can actually be you without apology. You can unapologetically you in that space, not wondering if you're going to fit in because you just, you look around and there's somebody who's looking for you. Somebody missed you at the lunch table. And so talk about you want to go where everybody knows your name. You sit at that lunch table, but I love it. I love it. Wouldn't trade it for the absolute world.
And I want to add, as a former instructor who taught at the graduate level, we had some Alcorn State folks come to the university I used to teach at, and they are some of the best students too. So they are academically prepared, not just when you're talking about just the community, they also too were academically prepared to go into graduate program work as well.
Yeah, because you can get what you need You learn how to get what you need. Let me say that. Because no matter where you come from, I came from a decent sized high school. We had over 200 some kids in high school, but we had a decent sized high school. But then you go away, you travel somewhere, never been anywhere from a single parent home. You have not been outside of your little bubble. And so to travel there, have professors that actually look like you, had conversation with you, you didn't feel like you were an outsider. So then if I needed more, I wasn't ashamed to go and ask for more.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. So we kind of dipped our toe into your social work journey just a little bit, but that's why you're here. So tell me about your social work journey. How'd you get here? Where do you want to go? What are your plans?
Okay. Love it. So so I'll tell you this. I use I say the process of elimination. And I just have to do, my little I like doing my little backstory, but it was a process of elimination and how I even started my journey again. And so process of elimination was firefighter, no, policeman, no, doctor, no, teacher, yes. So I literally fell in love with my fifth grade teacher, Betty Armand. She loved on us and showed us some different things, even in elementary school. And so, in thinking about what I could become, which at the time I thought was an educator in education teaching, that's what I thought because that's what we did, that's what we were. And my journey shifted. I served, had an opportunity, worked in mental health for 18 years. So I worked in mental health for 18 years. A very specific incident in my role as a leader. I was in administration for 20 something years, 20 something years total. But in mental health, I was an administrator. And to the social work journey was a pivotal one incident at the mental health hospital. There was a young lady, a teenager, and she had big behaviors. And so, as an administrator, you're trying to figure out what is the best course of action to take for this young person. And so, what do we like to do? We want to go in and tell them what their treatment plan is going to be. We like to tell them how their behaviors are so out of order and all of these things. This young lady, it was myself, her social worker, the clinical director, sitting down, having a conversation with her. And I asked her, I said, what can we do? Because evidently what we're doing is not working. And that young lady shared what her experience had been in mental health up until that point. And literally that day, we took her information and developed a plan that she designed, like custom design. So to the point where she matriculated through her own plan. We created a graduation for her because she was a senior, had been in mental health hospital for years, wasn't going to graduate with her class, did all of that. And I was like, this is what social work is? I, I can do this. I can do this. Never knew. But that is what shifted my mindset around all the things, more things that we could do in our profession, hence the essence of autonomy. And so I went back to school, went back to good old Jackson State University, got my master's in social work, and I am not going to school just to be going to school. Like, for me, understanding how to leverage my degree, I needed a license. Otherwise, I just went to school. That's how I thought about it. And so got my master's, and I took my exam before I went back there following for my final semester for my field placement, for my placement experience. That's a field placement, a whole nother conversation, which we probably won't have, but that term irks me to no end, right? But we'll leave that alone. So I spent the summer studying for my exam and took it that fall. And then I had my final semester that spring.
We can talk about field placement. We have never talked about field placement on this podcast, but before we do, and I'm so about that energy. So, but before we do, I want to go back to treatment planning, because I talk to social workers all the time about, these cookie cutter treatment plans because it's easy. Our caseloads are heavy and it's like we just do the same treatment plan for every single client we see. But that really isn't treatment planning. Getting the client's buy-in so it can be theirs, because we're not the ones who are required to do the work of the treatment plan. The client is. And so we're just telling them, hey, this is what you got to complete in 90 days, and I'm gonna check on you in 30, 60, whatever. Where's the buy-in for the client? So for you to be able to see, let her complete or create her own
Mhm.
treatment plan is her work. And so I love that you guys were able to do that. And you say you saw that through the social worker?
So yeah, so what happened was, and I'll tell you more about the story because we're not revealing names. This young lady was 17 years old, had been in and out of the state psychiatric hospital for years. And so it was so to the point where her behaviors were so big that we had to remove her from the adolescent unit. She was actually placed on the adult unit. Her behaviors were so big over there, they sent her back. And so when they sent her back, that's when we had that conversation with her. And her social worker said, "Can you come talk? Can you come talk with her?" That's how I got involved as an administrator, because in some environments, you have the administrative side and you have the clinical side. And administrators dare not get involved with clinical. You dare not get involved with clinical. And so, because I had a good working relationship with the social worker and the clinical director at that time, they invited me to the table. In my clinical role, I oversaw programs, I oversaw the quality assessments on those cookie cutter treatment plans. So that's how I knew, like, I've been monitoring these treatment plans for years, and we see why we have the revolving door, because we're not customizing to the individual. It took a 90-minute conversation with her. She had to get all her bigness out, let us know how she felt, and you didn't get the right to be upset about what she said. That's the thing. We don't get the right to be upset. That is their validated experience. And so, in listening to her, yeah, the social worker said, "Well, what are we doing? Like, is there anything?" So that was my first time hearing a social worker ask a patient, is what they called them at the time, "What do you need? What do you need?" And then from an administrative standpoint, say, evidently what we're doing is not working. It's just not working. When I tell you she read her entire treatment team their rights. So this is how critical it was. We changed her doctor and her entire team, because her experience before she went to the adult unit, nobody listened to her. And she said, "I cannot work with them. They won't even listen. I told them." She was, all the body moves, all the big behaviors. They didn't listen to me. And because they didn't listen to me, that's what they got. And I was like, we listening. We're listening. So this young lady set her own school schedule up, because in mental health, you have the school on the campus. So she was able to set her school schedule up. We had what we call a therapeutic kitchen. She had, because she was 17, not only did she need either a GED or something like that, she needed life skills. So her plan centered around, what skills do you need that are going to help you to be successful outside of here? She crafted that. She spent time in the therapeutic kitchen daily, cooking simple things, macaroni and cheese, learning how to cook rice, those things. So that's what she needed. And when I tell you she thrived through that program, she wrote it herself, and we received it. Her team received it. And so, because they allowed her that autonomy to just really be authentic, get all those big behaviors out. That's the big behaviors are not the issue. Like, we need to see what the needs are. The big behaviors meant that a need was being unmet. If you decide that you want to meet the need genuinely and authentically, you sit in that space with them. It's about them. It's not about us. I don't get the right to be upset because she yelling, screaming, kicking, tearing up stuff, kicking out walls. You don't get the right to be upset. Her experiences produces these behaviors. So what is your experience back towards her? And so when we think about these cookie cutter plans, like, stop it. Matter of fact, just go in your session and listen, and they'll tell you what they need. And all you're doing is recapping, filling in the gaps. Did I hear you correctly? Opposed to all of our degrees, all the CBTs, all these alphabet soup. But the key ingredient is the relationship. Like, and we know that. But we're so busy, and I understand billable hours, but the billable hours don't get you the life changes. You don't transform, you don't impact, you don't do anything different with that person. So, no, it's not okay to do the cookie cutter. Take time out. You can't do nothing with 15 minutes with them. Why, no? A whole real meaningful engagement. Listen. Listen to understand, not to rebut.
That's it. That's it. And because I have the honor of working with people who are working towards their clinical license, they think that they're supposed to be the expert. I got to be the expert. And you don't. The client is the expert in their lives. And if you just take that energy with you throughout your career, that the client is the expert
Mm-hmm.
in their
Mm-hmm.
lives, one, it empowers you to be the expert in your own life. So when you're dealing with the medical system, you can take back your power from some of these authority figures. But two, you're modeling that for your clients because they're the expert in their life. And so I thank you for being a part of the team that received her story so that you can
Yes.
make an impactful change in her life. Thank you for
I'll tell
that.
you one thing that's very beneficial for our young people and people in our profession is the work around motivational interviewing. Understanding that as the expert, you don't have to be, again, you don't have to be the expert. And when you understand their motivations and really lean into a different pathway around being authentically genuine to listen, everything else will come naturally. But it's being willing to put in that work around you taking off your credentials and you setting in that place to understand that I do not need to be the expert. I need to guide the conversation.
That's
And
it.
man, I need to listen.
That's it. And and I'm gonna get off this because I want to get back to your social work journey, but I get excited talking to social workers. But the other thing I was thinking when you were just talking is, I love the NASW Code of Ethics, and one of the things is clients' right to self-determination. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we're talking about clients' right to self-determination, oftentimes I hear it in the context of, well, they don't want to do this anymore, and that's their right to not to have to participate in whatever the thing is that they don't want to participate anymore. But another way, just now listening to you, is clients' right to self-determination to create their own treatment planning. Flipping that mindset, oh, well, they don't want to do it and I can't force them to do it. That's true. But how can we use clients' right to self-determination to help clients feel empowered to create their own treatment planning?
Because if they when we open the door to allow that, they have one success on the goal that they identified, the work that they're working on, that creates momentum. Like, it may be what I think. I got this idea, but you have that conversation. It's one little thing that they want to do. I don't care. It may not have nothing to do with their diagnosis, but it is something that they're working on. And they come back to the session, and tell you that they did it. Oh my gosh, that's celebration. Celebrate every
Absolutely.
small step.
And,
Then you can get to
and
the.
And it can be a billable hour. Social workers have to be a little bit more creative in their documentation, but it can be a billable hour if you can be more expansive in your thinking of how you're working with your clients.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to shift our conversation because I said it. And so I'm going to be a person of my word. I want to hear your thoughts about field placement.
Yes. So I have a disdaining mark when I hear the word field. Not just in field placement, but the word field as in social work. That's where some advocacy really need to be done. The language that we're using to identify a people group where a majority of the professionals are African American. Majority of the professionals who are out there in particularly child welfare experiences are African American. And so when you think about it, we're saying Your workers, that's number two word that irks my nerve, that irks my spirit. The workers are out in the field. I immediately think about slavery. That's the reality of it. You got workers in a field. You don't have workers in a field. You have social work professionals operating in a community. I get so fired up about that, Renita. We're out here serving in the community. We are the only profession, and I know it's probably been said before, that has work in the name, in the title. But when you caveat that feel part about it, where can we start doing some real legislation and some real advocacy to change that terminology? We're not in the field anymore. Hadn't been in the field in years. And that is not okay. Absolutely not okay. And so I actually, it's a new year, 2024, drafted a proposal to share with a group of people in regards to the language that we use in higher education and what can you do to support a shift in this language.
I
That's
love
not
it.
okay.
I love, and you know what? I have been doing this work for 26 years, and I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. And so I'm so glad we came back to this because you're absolutely right. We are professionals working in a community, and that will also, because of that outdated language,
Mhm.
could contribute to the low pay, the staying stuck in and the job scarcity mindset that some of us have, not me, but some people in the work have.
Mhm.
But it contributes to some of the other issues
Yeah.
that go along with saying workers in a field.
Yeah. There's some unintentional dehumanization.
That's it. Yeah.
There is no way around it. It's unintentional dehumanization. And in the frame of which, in the lens in which I'm looking, if you're opposed to changing a name, then you want to maintain the dehumanization, you know, and
And
that's
and I love that you're willing because you're saying it without us saying it. I'm gonna say it. You created a proposal to
mhm,
give to administrators and other people who are in policy. That's macro social work. Because sometimes I think people are like, oh, I'm gonna do macro or I'm gonna do micro or whatever. We're all doing it all. We're doing
mhm,
micro, meso, and macro all at the same time. And how can you engage in macro social work for something that you're passionate about? And that is one of the ways that you're doing micro, but also doing macro social work as well.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna pivot again because
Okay.
apparently we can sit here and talk for hours.
Listen, my spirit is fired up for things that I love. I tell you, just purity fired up. And so
Absolutely. I love
let's
such
pivot.
work, so I get fired up too. But I heard you say the way you took your exam is not usually how people take their licensing exam. Usually you have to wait until after they've gotten their transcripts. I think that's how it is now. How after they've gotten their transcript, then they can sit for the LMSW exam. But one of the things about that we know is that brown and black women have ASWB has put out a statement a couple years back that we have some of the lower test scores as it relates to the exam. And so I always am curious, even though you had that you took it before you graduated, I still want to know what was your licensing testing experience like for you?
I actually let me so because I'm studying for my LC exam, preparing for that now, I have the same note cards that I had back then. And these are note cards, Renita, 6 weeks scriptures. And so each week has a different theme as I focused and studied on, you know. And so what led me in my studies was Job 22 and 28. You shall declare a thing and it will come to pass, and light will shine on your ways. And so through my faith and the work that I did, but 100% I give it all credit to the Lord. I passed my LMSW and I'm proclaiming LCSW, but I passed my LMSW at my first experience with a very pleasurable score. I'll say that. It wasn't 1 point. It was a very pleasurable score that I thank God for. And what seemed some value, because I was associating some value at that time, was that 15 on the ACT said what nothing. There was some standardized exam with no kind of bearings, but give me an opportunity, allow me to do the work, the experience. So my mental health background supported me on the LCSW exam, LMSW exam. And here's the caveat, Sister Renita. I had not practiced social work. I was in school, wasn't in, had not stepped foot in a clinic. But my mental health experience and the experience, I was able to successfully pass my exam. Praise be to God. Job 22 and 28 led me on that first go round. December the 16th. I never will forget.
Congratulations on that too. But I love that you wrote Job, that you have Job 22 and 28. You should declare a thing and it will be done. And a lot of the girls that I work with who have passed their clinical, that's one of the things that they do before is go ahead. It's January for us, and we do vision boards, and so I'm always talking to them about Habakkuk 2 and 3,
Mhm.
write the vision down and make it plain. And so we just were doing our vision board groups, and they have it on their boards and they have it on their bingo cards, and declaring a thing or writing it down and
Mhm.
just be done with it, and it's
Mhm.
done. And I love that was one of your experiences.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, I pulled out the exact same note cards.
And let us
Thanksgiving, praise, the exact same note cards with that scripture on it, and then the additional weekly focus. So that
you're
keep
gonna have to create a ebook so people can purchase that from you. Yeah.
that's something. Thank you. Something to think about.
Yes, people are gonna be. I need those scriptures. So how do I get in touch with Regina? So you're gonna
Oh,
create an ebook so that we can access it for those people who are taking either the master's or the clinical exams.
I love that. Thank you.
Yes, and we'll make sure once you get it done, we'll add it to your podcast description so people can access it. I'm going to
Yeah.
pivot just a little bit because we're still on the first question. So I'm going to move on, and this is going to get us back to the plant-based stuff, right?
Okay.
So as social workers, we usually have communities or populations that we are passionate about and perhaps work in, like domestic violence, child advocacy, or prison reform. What population are you most passionate about and why?
So the health and wellness, and I say specifically equitable health and wellness, particularly cardiovascular health. And so, what I recognize for me, my calling is to support the work to extend the healthy life expectancy of people with preventable medical conditions, i.e., high blood pressure, which we know tends to lead to early death. And for African American men and women, it is the number one preventable cause of death in the United States. And so I often share, just to raise conscious awareness, that the statistics around it, like over 59% of African American women over the age of 20. We're not talking about your grandma age. We're talking about the age of 20 have high blood pressure. And so my calling, because I've been sharing health all my life. When people see me, they think of health. They don't think social work. They think fitness and nutrition. They go to food police. I stop policing people's food unless you ask me. Now, if you ask me, I'm happy to give you some information. But I do not walk in a room and say, "Don't eat this." No, 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 no. You have your choice. But for me, my passion has been what I know is equitable health. And so that's how I leverage my experience in social work, but as a coach, that's my calling. That's the work that I do, is to work with individuals for optimal health and not just health. I don't want people to just live long. I don't want you to be 80 years old on 4 medications, humped over, can't walk. I want you to have optimal health, absent of illness and absent of disease. And so then you're able to have optimal health. But if you are on high blood pressure medicine and you're not doing the things like the trifecta: diet, exercise, and healthy social connections. You got to have the right community that supports you in life. And so that is my bend towards my journey. My, and I don't think you my why is because I've seen it in my personal family. My father died of a massive heart attack in 2020, during the height of COVID, alone in the hospital. And so you couldn't visit. Like, that's just, you could not. It didn't matter. And so I leaned in harder at that point to heart health. I always been health and wellness, eating better, but as a result of that significant life event, there is no reason why we're still dying of the preventable. And so people get upset with me about that, and I'm okay with that. I got some big girl panties on, and I got some tough skin. But the reality of it is, because this thing is preventable, when we say lifestyle condition, it's truly our lifestyle. And so I try to caveat and help people to understand we want to eat like we want to live. And so I just challenge people. If you want to live and live in an optimal way, you got to make some decisions. You got to become what I term as the CEO of your health. CEO make boss decisions. You make decisions that say, I want to live. Otherwise, the truth of the matter is you're living like you want to die. If you don't eat like you want to live, you eat like you want to die. And this thing is so much of our, medical conditions, they're absolutely preventable. Absolutely preventable. Hard conversation. However, we can have these hard conversations. It's required.
You were talking about the test, and you said your experience as an administrator helps you also to pass the LM. But also, what I'm hearing is your experience has led you to being the plant-based boss that you are as well. Mm-hmm. And so that all of it, I just want to kind of say matters. All of it matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of it kind of come full circle.
It really
as an administrator for 18 years, being able to serve in that capacity helped me to think differently as I engage. As a CEO, as an administrator, that's leadership. And helping to lead people in a different way of thinking. Mm-hmm. And so thinking through all of those experiences, there is not an either or, it's both and. We have to marry it all together to serve people. It's all about service. Use every experience that God gives us to be in service to others.
I often talk to social workers about combining the two things they love. Well, if you're doing this social work, because you gotta love social work to do it.
You gotta love it.
You gotta love it. And so then the other thing, right, which yours is nutrition and health, putting those two things together, it seems like you figured out how to do that. And I wanted to see, could you talk to us a little bit about how you put the two things that you love together?
Yeah, so the two things that I love, health and serving, this nutrition, and being able to be a light. And so when I think about as a in my mind, this is what I was thinking. As a social work therapist, I mean, I felt like, and I believe like, being in an environment where I have to diagnose somebody with some kind of condition, that wasn't my ministry. And so God said, that is not your ministry. And I said, okay, Lord. But being able to encourage people around how to navigate even tough stuff. Everybody don't need a diagnosis. You might need some other things. And so when you're overweight or have excess weight, if you have high blood pressure, if you have high diabetes, that contribute to other things. That contribute to depression. That contribute to isolation. That contribute to a whole host of things. And so I have, you know, thankfully look at it as leveraging my credentials to be able to support well people in an unwell state at the time. And so originally I birthed Diet Over DNA. That was the name of my company at first, Diet Over DNA. And so thinking about the diet and exercise component, I want to help people with their diet and exercise so they can live longer. But as I was working with my clients, I realized quickly they need more than a meal plan and an exercise plan. We talking about life over here. We talking about how this wife gotta do all this stuff for her children who are old enough to do it for themselves, for a spouse who is able-bodied and she's still running and doing it. She's a leader at school, get all these text messages before she get to work. Oh, we gotta do more than just dad over there. We just gotta do more than that. Hence, the birthing of Doing Life Well, coaching and consulting. And so I changed my company name so that I could show and work and deliver the message on the front end. How do we do life well? How do we do life well? And so, really being able to lean into the space where I can be authentically me and support, because understanding that in life we have hard things, as social workers, as any professional, but when you're unwell, you can't do those hard things. You cannot do those hard things. And so I believe, firmly believe, that not only can we do hard things, but we can do hard things well when we're well.
I almost wanted to stand up and clap. Yes. Yes. That's it.
I just that's my firm belief. We are, particularly women, I'm gonna lean into this space. We are the catch all, be all, do all, know all, available to all. And any opportunity, the misconception is a spa day, a nail day, a weekend trip gonna make me better. No, it is the daily intentional things that you do that contribute to your care of self. And so much flack around self-care, but is what am I doing daily in my space to take care of me? And so I just have a real hard-nosed passion that my people do not, one, have to die of preventable conditions. My sisters out here being all, doing all, unavailable to self, but you're available for everybody else. When are we going to stop that? When are we going to become the CEO of our own lives? When are we? So, a survey that I did just using data from my clients and then asking other people or listening to other people having little talk sessions. I sent out a survey of questions to 30 women, and resounding over half of them in their occupations now have high blood pressure that recently diagnosed as a result of stress on the job, as a result of life stress. And so the thing is that we are on a medical decline when we have all these resources available. Resources meaning becoming attending to myself. I'm the greatest asset that I can ever give anybody. And if I'm not well, if I'm getting on medication for this, getting on medication for that, I'm not well, I'm not optimal. And so unfortunately, we're starting to normalize getting on another medication. But what we need to normalize is reprioritizing our health. It's okay to say no. Let me normalize I'm unavailable. And I don't have to give you an excuse. I don't have to give you a reason. I am just unavailable. And so the other thing that I was learning through my data was so many people, particularly women, were canceling and missing doctor's appointments. By the time they get to the doctor, they have metastasized, and you got to get on medication to get that thing under control. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. But we're accepting it. And so I speak loud and clear. Loud and clear. I'm unapologetic about it. You cannot normalize what's not normal. It is not normal to have high blood pressure. Why do they call it high? Because that's not normal. Can we normalize enforcing boundaries? I don't care about you setting them, but if you don't enforce them so you can start taking care of yourself, there's no point in having them. And so for us to become the CEO of our health, that's where that movement came. That's how I birthed my conference, even topic. No flinch. Stop flinching when it comes to your health. We got to reprioritize our health.
Absolutely. I think hopefully you just helped a lot of women reprioritize their health again, especially at the beginning of this new year.
Mhm.
Those who end up listening to this, and we pray that those who need to hear this are going to hear it. This was the kick in the pants we needed.
I'm telling you, I was a caregiver to my dad before he passed, managing his bills, because he had a mental health diagnosis. Full transparency, I have no shame about that. A true psychiatric diagnosis. He was in and out of mental health hospitals, and so managing that, being responsible for being a wife, working full time, life. However, I had to pump the brake and pause. I had to step back. How can I deploy other people in this thing? Married to a wonderful man. All these now people run their own household how they want to run their household, but we co-labor around here. I don't cook all the meals, absolutely not. That's a part of us co-laboring in this household, and so unfortunately, we have these syndromes that I got to do all these things. You don't. If your young person in your house is old enough to have responsibilities, give them every responsibility that they're old enough to have. Otherwise, you're gonna be frustrated, tired, feeling unappreciated, overworked, overwhelmed, and overlooked. And flowers for Valentine ain't gonna be enough. I'm just sorry. And I did say ain't. Ain't gonna be enough. You know, a spa day once a quarter ain't gonna be enough. Can I get you to help with the laundry? Can I get you to take the trash out? Can I get you to cook 3 days a week? Things like that. Let me release some women. Let me help some women. Release yourself from that obligation. Release yourself from feeling like you got to be all. Your value is not associated with your responsibilities. You have value simply because you exist. Period. Period. You don't need a title. You don't need to be mother. You don't need to be daughter. You just need to show up and be you. Can you just be you for a little while? Can you just be you in a space for a little while and enjoy yourself? I get so fired up because I see it. I literally see this every day. I see it every day. Every day.
The word for 2025 is release, ladies. We are releasing.
We are releasing.
I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next question. What is one belief about social work that you started on this journey with that you feel has changed the most?
The biggest thing for me was primarily I started out thinking problem solving. You get that in school. You're here to solve problems. You got all the answers. No, you don't. No, you don't. Like with that young lady, had to come to a humbling realization. It's not my job to solve problems for people. It's just not. But how can I provide them or draw out of them what's in them? How can I draw what's in them out of them? And so I had to have a shift in my beliefs. I'm not their savior. I'm not there to transform their life. I got this big transformational experience that you're going to have. No. What I appreciate about both social work and health coaching is that I can equip them with knowledge and tools for them to use. And so allowing them autonomy helps them build confidence and take ownership. And then they're not dependent on you. I don't want you dependent on me. I want you to be able to stand. And so the biggest thing was, no, I don't care how smart you are. It doesn't matter. I don't have to be the expert. Like, I think I was gonna solve all these people. No, I'm not the problem solver. But I provide unconditional positive regard, support in that space, and they're able to be able to start navigating systems and reclaim their own position. Let them reclaim their own position. That was very humbling. Guide and support, not rescue. Folk, they don't need to be rescued. They need guidance. They need support. And that was the most liberating experience for me to learn that I do not have to solve your problem. I will sit with you while we walk through this together. And so
Absolutely.
people, yeah, so they get to see that they're resilient, that they have strength. And so it's just a privilege to step back and honor them and their success.
That's it. And I was just going back to how we started this. Clients are the experts in their own lives. And when we empower them to remember that, man, it makes the work for social work so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And they do, like you said, they feel a sense of accomplishment when they're able to get things done themselves. And you're not working so hard. If you're doing more work than your client, then you're doing it wrong.
You're not doing it right. Yes. You're frustrated. They're not frustrated. You're frustrated.
They good. They good. You mentioned it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here. We know that your event, No Flinch, Faith Women's Empowerment Conference and Movement, is coming up soon. Yes. Can you tell us more about it, and what are you wanting attendees to get out of it?
Yeah, so No Flinch Faith speaks that. Like, my vision and my hope is that we learn to truly become the CEO of our health, to take our position. And so the whole movement it's a mindset and a movement. The mindset is, as the CEO of my health, I'm gonna stop flinching when it comes to my health. And on February the 21st and 22nd, Jackson, Mississippi, at the Mississippi East Center, I want women to be able to show up in this space where they can be authentically nurtured. We're going to challenge some conversations, some health conversations, get rid of this superwoman mentality, have some courageous conversations, some real candid conversations, so we can learn how, with no hesitation, to start reprioritizing. And that's hard to get women in a room. That's hard to get them off to go somewhere and take care of themselves, right? And so it's on a Saturday. We actually start that Friday evening. And this is the beauty of that Friday. It was originally one day, but I added Friday evening with a very specific purpose. And we're going to have a very brief conversation about why movement is important. And Friday's theme is the movement. And we're going to have line dance and Zumba, because exercise is more than going to the gym. It's more than a treadmill. It's more than lifting weights. People like to move. They like to dance, So this is an opportunity to really just show them you can be active in your own life while you cleaning up around the house, while you're just doing in your house. You don't have to go anywhere. You know how many calories you can burn doing a line dance, for 35, 40 minutes. So I want to be able to have women to show up, and then I want them to walk away knowing that they actually were seen, heard, and really feel empowered, right? And so the day consists of course, myself. I'm keynote lead out, and I'll close also. We're not leaving no stone unturned. I have a medical doctor, Sean McKinney, who's a breast health specialist out of New Orleans, Louisiana, who will be there really addressing some matters. Radical self-care, not just self-care, but how do you have radical self-care? A couple of transformational stories, which are so powerful. And women need to understand you are absolutely not the only one. like trauma, life issues, but here I still stand reprioritizing my health. I have one story, and it just resonates so powerful. A mother of three, all her kiddos are under 10. She went from working out 0 times a week, wife, entrepreneur, mother, and worked outside the home, but now she's inside the home full time. How she reprioritized herself and now working out 4 days a week. 3 kids under 10. You tell me where they do that at. It's the work that we do to reshift that mindset. And so that's what I want my women to understand when they show up in that space. I want them to know that not only can you be a boss in the boardroom, a boss in the bedroom, I need you to be a boss in yourself. Got to. Got to. I don't need you crying in your prayer closet and bossing at work. No longer. No longer, sis. And so I hope they realize that they're not alone and that we all struggle, but we all have victories. We all have victories.
That's it. That is it. And we're going to make sure, are tickets still for sale, or how do people register? Okay. So we'll make sure the link, at least for the for your conference, is in your podcast description. So those who hear before February
21st and 22nd, the tickets are on sale at Eventbrite. No Flinch Faith. They are on sale at Eventbrite. No Flinch Faith. Stop flinching when it comes to your health.
Love it. We'll make sure that that link is in your podcast description so folks can grab it there. It has been such a joy to do this. I got excited with you. My cheeks are hurting from smiling so much. But we've come to our last question. And so you have given so many nuggets of wisdom. But are there any final words of advice you would like to leave our audience with today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so for all of my social service professionals out here helping, out here delivering it, whether you're in the medical, whether you're in the private practice, whether you are in education, child welfare, no matter your scope, here's what we need to understand. And this is my encouragement. Because we have chosen, or it has chosen us, the work from deep well of compassion, it takes a lot out of us. If I can truly invite you into a space where you are intentional with refilling on a daily basis with care of self, community, and true practices that are going to sustain you. Because you, my professional, have to also be the CEO of your life, to be the CEO of your health. And so in the work that we do, choosing to prioritize honoring ourselves as radical obedience to your health, then you are able to continue to go forth and do this great work that we do. We can't do hard things well if we're not well. But we can do hard things well when we are well. That's my encouragement. Make sure you're well. Be intentional with filling your own cup.
Regina, thank you so much for coming on the Goddesses of Social Work podcast. It has been such a joy, and I can't wait to hear more about how you are impacting the lives of women, and specifically the lives of social work women. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And also on a ongoing basis, if that's okay, that I share that I go live every Friday on Instagram and Facebook with my segment Figured Out Fridays. And so we're figuring out all things. How do we move to sustainable health practices? And so as a whole food, plant-based vegan, I'm answering your questions. I'm having conversations. And so, and that's where I also want to invite them into a space where you can be nurtured around your health, because again, the work that we do does not necessarily stop per we say, but we can have a conversation about it really does stop. You gotta refuel. You gotta refuel. So join me live on Instagram and Facebook, 6 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. That's my current platform as I move to a new platform, also off social media called Patreon. So just in case social media shut down, who knows? I want to be available. So thank you so much. I really have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. You've been excellent guiding and facilitating. I really am honored to have had this opportunity and this pleasure to speak with you this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we'll make sure all your links are in your podcast description so people can find you easy too, okay?
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Goddesses of Social Work podcast. We are glad you were here. If you liked this episode, please come back to hear more stories of the journeys through social work, and please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. See you next time here on the Goddesses of Social Work podcast.